All righty, we are back. We promised you we're going to talk to Manny Navarro. I guess we'll call it a second edition of the Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report, and it's obviously not a good one. You can follow my man Manny on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Catch his work, of course, at The Athletic. Let's bring him aboard. Manny, good morning, my man. How you hanging in there, brother?
Woo, man, it's been a rough 24 hours. I thought Christmas was great. Then I get on a plane for Dallas. I make the 3-hour drive from Dallas to Shreveport, get there at kickoff, about 2 hours before kickoff, and then watch one of the worst football games I think I've seen Miami play in a long time. It's been a wacky 24 hours, man. You know, to make that transition from Christmas to this chaos that is the football team.
You know, Manny, leading up to the game, I found it asinine that you couldn't name a quarterback, that you've gone through an entire season and you don't know who your best quarterback is. And then, you know, the news comes out that Enos is going to be, let go. It just, and to me, I find it too simplistic to say, well, Enos is the problem. This team didn't respond to Manny Diaz, not just Enos. It's a thing that we saw. It's something that happened all year long. And these problems with this team, if people think it's going to be solved just by an offensive coordinator, I think they're sorely mistaken here.
It's funny. I think one of the last conversations you and I had, I brought up the fact that my fear was that Manny Diaz is sort of looked at as a guy who was part of the previous regime, and so he's not respected by the guys on that offensive side, probably the way that he deserves to be, because he came from, you know, when you're on a team and you go through a coaching change, you know, you have to sort of reset your standards and your expectations for the new head coach, right? When the new guy comes in, everybody kind of buckles up and says, "Oh, you know, there's a new guy here. We gotta sort of earn our spot. We gotta show him that we really deserve to be here." Yada yada yada. Well, Manny Diaz was with Mark Richt at the end of last year's debacle, and he was a part of all that. And yes, he was the guy in charge of the defense, and yes, he was the guy who built a good defense at Miami. But if you're still a player on that team, you still look at him as, well, he's one of Mark's guys, you know? So that was my fear, was will these offensive players ever respect Manny Diaz the way that they should? And I don't think that ever happened this year. I don't think Manny Diaz, since he didn't recruit any of those guys, I don't think any of those guys ever looked at him as, well, he's really the head coach. We got to buckle down and show up for him. And that's what you saw yesterday. You saw an offense that sort of just was not wanting to play. And I was on the field for the last 5 minutes of the game. They let us come on the field for the last 5 minutes of the game. So I immediately went down there and said, I got to see what's happening on the sideline. And, you know, as soon as it ended, you see the defensive players walking off the field, embarrassed, upset. There's tears, there's frustration. Those guys played their butts off because they wanted to win. The offensive guys ran off the field, and it just felt disjointed, like it was two separate football teams that I saw walking off the field. And that's what I think we had. That's what happened this season. You had two different football teams. You had a defense that was still playing for Manny Diaz, and you had an offense that never played for Manny Diaz and never bought into whatever it was that him and Danny Enos were selling. And when you have a quarterback issue where you have a kid in Jaron Williams who I think chooses when he wants to study and put effort in, and doesn't get along with the offensive coordinator, you have performances like this one. And so really where we've gone in 1 year since the Pinstripe Bowl loss, since I left New York and Mark Richt decided exactly, I think it was a year ago, just either today or tomorrow, it was exactly a year ago, where he decided he was stepping away. This program has just gone completely neutral for 1 year. And Manny Diaz, outside of the recruiting he's done to sign 18 new kids, you can't say that there's been any progress because the offense has gotten no better, and the defense has been pretty much the same thing as what it was.
So let me ask you, how can that happen if there's some leadership, with Quarterman and those kind of guys? How come they can't reach the offense and and get guys to play hard all together. That's the part I don't understand.
Well, here's the problem. We grew up in a different era, right? I think we grew up in the era where you had great Miami Hurricane leaders between Michael Irvin and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Right, we saw all of those guys come to the University of Miami, and we saw them excel, and we saw them push their teammates to greatness because those guys were natural leaders. This era with millennials is just, and I hate to do that because I don't want to be the old guy saying these damn millennials. But I just think we live in a different era, and I don't know if it's because these kids are being raised in a different situation in homes where things aren't being taught the way that they should, whether they're playing for high school teams where things are being taught differently. But it's about individualism now. It's about standing out as an individual. It's about at least at the high school level when they're playing. I mean, these kids transfer schools 2 and 3 times in high school, and it's about which coach is going to play me the way that I want to play, and so to me that's where all of this permeates. This mentality of the me. And then, Manny Diaz creates this turnover chain, the touchdown rings, and he's obviously trying to placate to the kids so that he gives them something positive to be excited about. I think the issue is it's very hard for these guys to reach some of these kids and get them to perform the way that they want them to perform. That's just the reality of it. Some coaches in college football know the magic touch. That's why Dabo Sweeney and Urban Meyer and those guys, besides the fact that they recruit great athletes, it's just a psychology. They know what to do. I don't know that Manny Diaz does. That's what happens when you hire a guy who's never been a head coach, right? I mean, there's something to experience. There's something to guys that have been in winning programs and know ways to do it. Jimmy Johnson was great at it. He knew how to motivate guys. He knew the psychological side of it. I don't know that Manny Diaz does. And, what Miami has done now for their last 5 or 6 coaching hires, besides Mark Richt, is hire guys who are former coordinators who've never been head coaches and, try to ride this wave of, well, they were really good as coordinators, so let's assume that they're going to be really good head coaches. Because that's what most college programs do, right? They don't want to spend big money, top dollar on an experienced coach. So hey, you know what? We're gonna hire a guy who did a good job with his unit, and sometimes it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And could Manny Diaz be a good head coach at Miami one day? Maybe, but as we've talked about many times on your show, this job is for a Jedi Master. It's not for a rookie,
a Padawan, a Padawan.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just the hurdles that you face. Number one, recruiting in South Florida, okay, where everybody in the country comes here now. There are no undiscovered stars in South Florida anymore. I mean, yes, they pulled Gregory Rousseau out of the hat because he was at Champagnat High School, and everybody wishes they had Greg Rousseau now. But in this backyard, these kids, I mean, they didn't grow up with Miami winning. So what you're seeing now is a lot of them are like, dude, I don't want to play there. Look at that stadium. Look at how the fans boo them. They're 6-6 everywhere. Why the hell would I want to go play there when I win state championships left and right at my high school?
Right.
So to me, that's the number one issue. And you're right. It may never get fixed in Manny Diaz. And it's a shame because I think Manny's heart is in the right place. He really wants to do well.
There's no doubt.
But it's just, it is what it is.
Well, hey, yesterday, my brother, this kid runs downfield on special teams, knocks this kid out before the ball gets there. He comes to the sidelines. They're all celebrating. And it's like, dude, that's a 15-yard penalty. That was a bad play. And players are celebrating that. And I'm like, I mean, Jimmy Johnson would have lost his mind at that moment, or Schnellenberger, if they see their players celebrating a stupid play. Trajan Bandy. It's like you're bragging and all that. Dude, you're losing. Shut the hell up. It's just that's the other thing that I saw yesterday. When you're celebrating that bad play on special teams, you got problems on the sidelines, bro. Your kids are not focused in the right way.
Right. And yes, again, that's to me what It comes to the mentality of today's kids and what it is they celebrate. It's almost as if
but that won't happen under Saban, dude. There is no way you commit that stupid penalty and the guys at Bama are all high-fiving right there by Saban, and there's no way that happens in Alabama.
No, or Clemson or any of these other places. And it's because those coaches, from the moment they stepped in through the door, did not celebrate individualism and didn't let that become an accepted norm. Let's think about this. Manny Diaz, that was his thing. He created the turnover chain. What is the turnover chain? It is the ultimate celebration of individualism.
Yeah.
Because you get to put on the chain. You get to be the guy everybody has the spotlight on. And that was Manny Diaz's approach as a defensive coordinator. And it worked because his defense was good. But what happens when your team sucks? I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so, to me, it's an approach deal. Manny brought that from day one. He celebrated that individualism, and it worked because they were a good defense. But when you're a bad team and you celebrate individualism, you have what you saw yesterday. And for all of us old school cats who saw Miami do things a different way for a long time, it's upsetting because you're thinking to yourself, man, this program, it was so great. What happened to it? I think we need to sort of let that go and sort of look at the last 15, 16 years and say this is what the reality is.
Yeah.
It's no longer a great program.
No, it's not. It's a terrible program. It's a mediocre program as it is. And I got to tell you something, Manny. Diaz should eliminate the smoke, the rings, and the chain. And you could bring it back when you deserve it because you look like a clown show. You're a 6-7 team running through the smoke. That doesn't make any sense, dude. You're bringing out a turnover chain while you're losing. You touchdown rings and you're losing. To me, none of that makes any sense. And forget you and me. The Canes that establish all those championships and the winning and all that, those guys must be disgusted by watching all of that garbage when none of those cats have accomplished anything and they're all living off of everything from the past.
I would love it if I could get Michael Irvin to just speak the truth, you know, but he's just not going to do it. I mean, his son plays on the team. I was sitting there yesterday in the press box, and the athletic director's press box was literally right next to the main media press box. And I was sitting on the further seat, and I could see Michael Irvin sitting right next to Blake James in the press box watching this game. And he was miserable. I mean, literally every time something would happen, I would turn to my left and say, okay, what's Mike going to do now? When Miami tried that deep pass to KJ Osborne in the second half, where they finally took a deep shot, Irvin started going nuts. You could just hear him as soon as the ball was released. Yeah, it's going to finally happen. And then it falls incomplete, and you're just like, again, this is this misery. And those old school guys, man, I mean, this is so tough for them to swallow. But you got to remember, this has been 16 years of this now.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, and I saw him break down and cry. Literally, he was breaking down and crying after scoring. I saw him in the hallway underneath the stadium, and he's sitting there. And then the irony is, 20, 30 feet away, all of these kids coming out of the Miami locker room, none of them are crying. They're there with their family. It's like everything's fine. It's almost as if the old school guys have so much higher expectations for what this program should be, when in reality, it just hasn't been that in so long. And that's what I think we have to start doing as fans and as reporters is stop comparing it to the past because it may never get there again.
Yeah,
Probably will never get there again.
Yeah, I don't think it ever is going to get there again, especially under Manny Diaz. I don't have any hope. And here's the other thing. Everybody says, you got to run a spread and this and that, and let's go get another OC. Okay, so Manny will come back next year guaranteed on a hot seat, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. He's going to be on a hot seat because if he has another season like this, they're not going to bring him back for a third for sure. So what quality coach do you get at this point when you have no quarterback to sell, no offense to sell, no team to sell, no success to sell? How in the hell do you get a really good coach to come here to straighten out your offense?
Honestly, I think there was only one guy who is made for this job right now who may or may not ever come back to get it, and that's Mario Cristobal. We've discussed him in the past, and that's because he is a Hurricane through and through, and he was part of the championship generation. But he's making a lot of money at Oregon, and he's enjoying his job at Oregon.
Resources.
Well, and I would say the other aspect is there are certain people at Miami that aren't happy with Mario that he took off. But I think, from what I've heard, that opinion's obviously changing because they're seeing what he's doing at Oregon now.
Yeah.
Where, when the Tigers completely
you know what?
Let
me tell you something. Those people at the U that are mad at him, if they still are, those are bad human beings. Because none of us should ever get mad at anybody that is trying to better themselves. And whether they wanted to admit it or not, that's what Mario Cristobal did leaving Alabama. He was bettering himself as a professional. And look where he's at now. He's the head coach of Oregon. He won the Pac-12, right? Didn't he win the Pac-12?
Yep.
Yeah. So then we're talking about a guy that's successful, and he did the right things for Mario Cristobal. And if I'm him, there is no way in the world you leave Oregon and Nike money. And let me tell you, not the toughest conference in the world. And you could probably dominate by having success in Oregon and recruiting out in the West. There is no way you leave Oregon for the University of Miami right now. I never thought I would say that, but right now, it makes no sense to leave Oregon if you're Mario.
And here's something Miami fans kind of have to deal with and accept. The last time this job was open, which was a year ago, the athletic director jumped at Manny. Why? Yeah. Well, because I think in large part, even though he says every coach in the country would be interested in being the head coach at Miami, the reality is that's not true. Because when Mark Richt was the coach, he became the coach, Miami went through, I think, three interviews. One of them was with Tan Mullen, who never wanted the job. He was basically using it to get himself a raise at Mississippi State. It was Butch Davis, who was just dying to get back into coaching and would have loved to be here at Miami. And, God, who was the third guy? I can't even remember at this point. But basically there were three guys, and that was it. And there wasn't a lot of people banging on the door to take this job over because, like I told you, this job is a lot harder than people think it is. You think, oh, you got the recruiting in Miami's backyard. Dude, you've got to change. First, you got to deal with the high expectations because everybody here wants nothing but national championships. And two, you got to sort of change the culture in terms of recruiting your own backyard, and that's not easy to do. It's not easy to come in here into some of these neighborhoods and convince these kids to come to Miami now. And I know that sounds just insane, but it's the truth. And so there's not a lot of people who are banging on the door to take over this mess. There just isn't.
What Blake James came out with his statement and basically backing up Manny.
Right.
What can Blake do to make this better? Is there anything that he can do to change the direction of this program?
Well, I mean, what can he do? Obviously, you would say make the head coach change and bring in a guy like Mario Cristobal and spend the money and do what you have to do to bring in a guy who can really flip this thing around from the ground up. But if you're going to stick with Manny Diaz, then you have to spend big dollars on an offensive coordinator and position coaches, not just go out and get a bunch of assistant coaches you've never heard of. It has to be established guys who, as I mentioned, are Jedi Masters, guys who are not thin on experience and are thick on having done it and been successful. Not, hey, they were pretty good at Toledo. No, these guys have to have been successful in the SEC, in the ACC, in the Big 10, 12, wherever. And spend the top dollar to bring in top-level assistant coaches who can recruit really, really well and get the players on the team to elevate their level of play and not just sort of roll their eyes at whatever it is that they're saying. And, and to stop losing these games that they shouldn't lose, man. That's the number one thing. The way you lose respect in college football nowadays is by losing games like yesterday, 14-0 to Louisiana Tech, and losing to FIU, and losing to Duke. Like, that's the number one thing that they've got to stop doing, because you lose the locker room and you lose the recruits. That's what costs it. Everybody can understand it when you lose to a Florida or you lose to an Ohio State or a Texas or whoever is another Power 5 team, right? Because those teams are expected to be good. But when you're losing to non-Power 5 teams and you're showing up and putting up, just terrible performances, it's hard to get the respect of your own players in the locker room, and it's hard to, get the respect of the recruits. And so that's the number one thing that's got to change.
Manny Navarro from The Athletic joining us in our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report number 2 of the week, by the way. Your tweet yesterday, Tate Martell has taken, I think it was 5 snaps, and he's running for his life on 4 of them or something like that it was. Let me ask you something. What the hell convinced them in practice that this guy was going to be ready? Because he did not look like he could be a quarterback at this level, dude. I mean, he looked really, really bad and completely out of place.
Well, that's the thing, it's funny because that whole moment, hey, we've got to get Tate in the game and give him a chance to play quarterback finally in the last game of the season. It almost was like Manny Diaz, to me, waving the white flag to the fan base and sort of placating the fan base and saying, hey, look, this is the guy you guys have wanted all year long. I'm going to throw him out there so you can see what he really is. And, listen, we in the media, we've told you guys every day in practice, this guy was throwing, it looked like a wounded duck in practice every single time we saw him throw it. But the fan base, for whatever reason, because Tate Martell was a winner in high school and because he was, recruited to Ohio State by Urban Meyer and yada, 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 everybody swore, hey, look, give the guy a chance. He's going to – and I think yesterday in those 6 snaps, we saw why Tate Martell is the third-string quarterback and really not even, to me, a quarterback at this level because, first of all, he can't see over the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, he's short, so he's 5'10", can't even see really down the field. Second, his natural instinct and what he was at the high school level was a runner. He's a guy who takes a snap, fakes a handoff, or either hands the ball off and runs. That's what he did. That's what Urban Meyer recruited him for. He's just not the quarterback to run this kind of an offense. Could he be successful elsewhere? Sure. I just don't think it's at a Power 5 school. But the bottom line is that's what that was. And I think Manny Diaz did it on purpose. I think he gave him a series, not only to give Tate a chance to get on the field, because I'm sure that kid has been a headache behind the scenes, wanting to play, yada, yada, yada. But I think he did it in large part to tell the fan base, here's your hope. Here's the guy you think is better. And now maybe you'll see why it is that don't play him.
Manny, and we're talking with Manny Navarro, of course, from The Athletic. When they let go of Dan Enos now, what do you know, and what do we know about the buyout? How much of that do they have to pay? How much of that is going to hurt them in trying to get another coach? Will it hurt them, or will they open up the checkbook and say, no, we got to go out and get the best guy possible? How are they going to handle this? What do you foresee there?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, he signed, I think it was a 2-year deal, $1.5 million for each season here at Miami. So he still has a year left on his contract. But if he gets a job elsewhere, I don't know if whatever school. What I've heard over and over again is he could be headed to a school that's still playing, which is why this hasn't happened yet. But my understanding is yes, once the financials and everything are worked out, depending on, what his buyout is here, or, whether or not Miami has to pay a percentage of it, all of that. Once the financials are handled with, I mean, they're gonna go out and look for another coordinator. And the 3 names that I put out there yesterday, and others have put out there as well, are guys who run, are experienced coaches who run the spread offense in the terms of 4 wide and, up-tempo style, which is what I think the fan base wants to see. They want to see more of an up-tempo style, more 4 receivers, spread the field out, throw the ball all over the field type thing. But, again, we're very, very early in the stages, and you got to remember one thing. whatever offensive coordinator takes this job, he's got to know that Manny Diaz is under a tremendous amount of pressure to win and may not be here a year from now based off of what happened this year. So, and again, we've discussed this on the show before too. What kind of coaching tree, what kind of coaching connections does Manny Diaz have?
Ooh.
When you hire a rookie head coach, they don't really have great connections around the college football, you know, other than having worked for guys who hired him. You know, they don't necessarily have, you know, the pedigree where all of a sudden some great offensive coordinators say, yeah, I want to go work with Manny Diaz at Miami. That's why Dan Enos was chosen. He was a quarterbacks coach at Alabama, a former head coach, a guy who was still sort of repairing his image, you know, as a football coach after some of the struggles he had in Arkansas. So to me, again, what kind of coach can you attract here? What kind of offensive coordinator could you attract here? To me, it's somebody similar to Dan Enos, somebody who's not a high profile, not a big name.
I would imagine that the news with the DB is going to happen today or tomorrow, right? We'll probably hear pretty soon about Bandy saying that he's gone, or is there any chance that he changes his mind?
Watching him walk off the field yesterday, the body language, he was kind of saying goodbye to guys. So I kind of think it's done. But again, Mike Rumpf told us, and I believe Mike Rumpf, be very honest guy, he was going to have one final conversation with Bandy about all that. And they're very close. And I think their futures are very much tied together in a lot of ways. We'll see if Rumpf was one guy who I think even last year people thought, well, he might be on the way out. But I think after they have a conversation, whether it be today or tomorrow, we'll probably get some clarity on that.
All right, Manny, what are you working on in the Athletics so Canes fans can check you out, my brother?
Well, obviously there's a lot of interest in the offensive coordinator job that's going to be opening up soon, and what changes Manny's going to be involved in. So I'll be looking at that and addressing that here in the days and weeks ahead. And, of course, there's still recruiting. There's still some holes to be filled. Will Miami look at some grad transfers at quarterback? We'll find out. We'll see what the new offensive coordinator wants to do. And, you know, obviously, like I said, there could be other staff changes. You know, when you get rid of an offensive coordinator or when you part ways with one, you have a situation where the assistant coaches are obviously on the hot seat too, even if they did a good job. So we'll find out here who they get rid of and what other assistants end up leaving. So there's a lot to monitor here in the weeks and months ahead before the next signing day for sure.
So what was your highlight in Shreveport?
Oh, God, was there a highlight in Shreveport? I think I might have been shut out as well.
Damn, dude, that is rough. Are you back already?
No. I'm still in my hotel room here. I got to drive back to Dallas. I got an 8:00 flight home out of Dallas, and then I got to drive to Orlando and Jacksonville. They got the Under Armour game coming up on the 2nd, so I'm going to try to hit some of the media availability for the high school Under Armour game. Miami's got 4 players playing that in Orlando, and then I gotta fill in and cover the Jaguars last game on Sunday. I'm helping out.
Wow.
So yeah,
okay.
I got a busy weekend ahead, bro. That's why I took Christmas and the last few days off.
So you're going to be in Jacksonville?
I will be in first Orlando and then Jacksonville over the weekend. Yeah.
Okay. Did the Athletic pay you a lot of money because you're ending up in Shreveport and Jacksonville? That's dude. I mean, seriously, I don't even think we treat our prisoners of war that badly. Come on, bro. Terrorists, when we capture terrorists in this country, we don't send them to Shreveport and Jacksonville, bro. Come on. That is crazy.
I think it's just, listen, they're paying for it. This is not coming out of my pocket, that's for sure.
No, actually, if you're in Shreveport and Jacksonville, you're paying for it in many ways. All right? Just let's be honest there. All right, Manny, we've had enough fun with that. All right, you be good, my brother. Be safe. And thank you for taking some time here on short notice after this debacle last night. Thank you. I know the listeners appreciate it.
No problem, brother. And I'll be in contact with you if I hear anything, all right?
You got it, baby. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank Thank you. There you go. The great Manny Navarro. We had to get Manny on today. I mean, I had to bring him on and talk about this mess because it's gross. It really is. It's just gross. I'm like I told you guys earlier, I'm at a point now where I think it's over. I just I have really no hope anymore for the University of Miami football program. I don't. I just have no hope. They're going to have to do it for me to. It's 15 years, man. How long? How long are you going to keep telling me? I mean, okay, so you like this woman, right? You think she likes you. And you've been hitting on her for 15 years. And for 15 years, she keeps telling you, yeah, next week we'll go out. Yeah, next week you'll go out. So how long are you going to build yourself up? When are you going to finally get some action? And that's the same thing as the University of Miami football program. It's 15 years of telling you, no, Randy's the guy. No. Al Golden's the guy. No. Mark Rick's the guy. No. We've got him now. It's Manny Diaz. How many more? Right? It's almost like we're waiting for the next Schnellenberger, because that's kind of what it is now. Listen, you've sucked. You've been an embarrassment now for 15 years, 15 plus years. You're basically back to where you were in 1983. You kind of need that guy that comes back to revitalize the entire program. And will that ever happen again? Because it's not even close to being guaranteed. And if these kids keep coming here with the attitude like they're the ones that won the 5 titles, it's over, man. I mean, yesterday, I lost my mind when I saw them celebrating that penalty. I was like, that was kind of like the nail in the coffin for me. It was like, okay, well then I know there's no hope for this program. I am watching football players celebrate a stupid play. What? I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I can't imagine Flores and Dolphin players celebrating, high-fiving each other because you knocked the crap out of a guy that you didn't allow him to catch the ball on special teams. I can't imagine that Eric Spoelstra would be happy with a stupid play like that and you're celebrating it. Or Shula or Schnellenberger or any respect, or Riley. Right? Can you imagine Pat Riley, Jimmy Johnson, Don Shula, or Howard Schnellenberger, and they're coaching a team that is celebrating a penalty?
Bro, it would be go to the locker room, take your uniform off, and you make sure you're not there when we get done with this game.
Yeah, and you're not going on the plane.
Out of here.
Yeah, you're not on the team bus. You're not on the team plane. I mean, think about that. Just sit and let that, as the Mad Dog would say, marinate in your mind. Just let it sit there. They were celebrating a penalty.
You know, it's a super great point.
I'd have you doing 800 push-ups at halftime inside the locker room or after the game for that.
Super great point by Manny. The turnover chain, and that's all about individualism.
Yes.
And, yeah, it's kind of festered and now. Gone in the wrong. It's gone wrong. It's gone awry.
That's what we are in this society. It's all about me. It's about my brand and all that stuff. That's kind of what it is. That's what we are. And unfortunately, you happen to be playing the ultimate team sport. It's called football. And when there's 11 dudes on the field and one guy screws up, it messes up the entire play a lot of times. Because it's just a domino effect. And you look at that team and none of those dominoes are lined up. There is no rhyme or reason to anything that's going on with the Miami Hurricanes. It really is disgusting.
How could you have that poor of an offensive production and you had a month? Are you serious?
Well, that's because that's what they do.
You know how sorry that is? And this is against, look, Louisiana, I don't want to take anything away from them. They're obviously a well-coached team. Got to give Holtz credit. Those
You saw
kids
a
play
stat?
hard.
You saw a stat? It was 10 players he's had in the NFL. Told you.
You know what?
Last few years, I told you,
That's
there's one or
very
two that comes in.
respectable from that size of a school.
Yeah,
Okay?
definitely.
But 10 wins, 6 bowl games won in a row.
Yep.
The guy knows how to coach. His kids played hard, but there is absolutely no excuse for us not to score points. I'm sorry, against that team. None.
Yep. Well, there is. It's called bad coaching. That's all. That's really what it's all about. It's just that the Canes they have a terrible coach. There's no other way to phrase it. And he's going to have to do the most incredible turnaround in history of college football next year.
Bro, he better do a hardcore tour and get with every coach that he can to help him with his coaching, bro. He needs it.
Maybe Eddie Pereira can coach him up over at Pallet Rack City, where they have the hottest racks out there. Don't you love a great rack? I know you love a great rack. And listen, if you want to straighten out that business, that warehouse, it's looking like a mess, call Pallet Rack City, baby. They're your one-stop shop for all of those warehouse needs. They sell the pallet jacks. They sell the hand trucks, the dock boards. They have the largest used racking inventory in South Florida. And, folks, they buy and sell new and used pallet racking. And they also sell used forklifts and dock equipment. And they specialize in knockdowns and installations of your warehouse equipment. That's why you want to call Eddie right now at Pallet Rack City. Listen, I've been there several times, and it is impressive. He's got actually several warehouses in that area. And when you call Eddie, he's going to treat you right, man. 305-887-9212. You want to straighten out that warehouse. You want it looking good. You need a great rack. You call Pallet Rack City.